Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea called signal crafting. And it's all about this concept that effective communication isn't really about what you say, but about the hidden structure you build when you say it. Let's get into it. Come on, you've been there, right? You're in a meeting, you share this brilliant insight, a solution to a problem that's been bugging everyone, and then nothing. It just kind of hangs in the air. No one picks it up. It's super frustrating. But what if the problem isn't your idea? What if it's the way that idea was sent? So this right here is the absolute core of signal crafting. See, most of us think communication is about messaging. We write a message, we hit send, and we just hope it lands. But this framework says no, no, no. Think like an architect. Every word, every email, every presentation is a brick. And you're either using it to build a strong structure of understanding, or you're accidentally adding a crack to the foundation. Okay, so if we're going to be architects, what are our building blocks? What are we actually building with? Well, the answer is signals. So let's take a look at what that really means. This quote is pretty much the bedrock of the whole idea. A signal isn't just a piece of information, it's an action. It's an event that literally changes the environment it enters. It's a pretty powerful way to think about it, right? Every single email you send, every comment you make in a meeting, it's either building things up and creating clarity, or it's tearing things down. So to be really clear, a signal isn't just you firing off a random thought. It's a carefully structured event, and it has a purpose, either to get everyone on the same page, that's alignment, or to trigger a change. So think of it less like a piece of data and more like a tool you've designed to have a specific impact on the system. But for a signal to actually work, for it to build that alignment we're talking about, it has to navigate a really specific path. This framework lays it out as a 5-step loop that basically every effective idea has to travel through to survive. And here it is, the roadmap for a successful signal: seeding, structuring, modulation, convergence, and finally, feedback. And you gotta know, if you get any one of these steps wrong, even the most brilliant idea can just collapse into noise. So let's start at the very beginning, with seeding. It all starts with seeding. This is that fuzzy moment of pure potential. You know, that hunch, that gut feeling that, something here needs to change. Seeding is the hard work of taking that vague, messy feeling and compressing it into a clear, stable idea that you can actually communicate to someone else. So once you've got that sharp idea, you have to give it a home. And that's step 2. Structuring. An idea that only exists in your head is fragile. It's basically a ghost. By writing it down, sketching it out, making a quick deck, you give it a physical form so it can actually survive and be shared. Without this step, even the best seeds just wither and fade away. Now this one. This is where so many good ideas go to die. Modulation. It's the art of delivery. You can have a perfectly seeded and structured idea, but if you present it to a team that's totally burned out, distracted, or defensive, it is dead on arrival. Modulation is all about tuning your signal to the state of the system, the right message at the right time in the right way. And this is the magic moment. Convergence. It's that click, you know? It's when your signal lands and suddenly the whole group just gets it. And this isn't just about people agreeing with you. The framework calls it a phase shift. It's that moment an idea goes from being your idea to being our idea. And that is what unlocks real collective action. But even after that amazing click of convergence, the job isn't done. The last step is feedback. What happens to the idea now? Does it get integrated into the system, improved, and used again? Or does everyone just forget about it by next week? This final step is what separates a one-hit wonder from a system that actually learns and gets better over time. Of course, that 5-step loop is the ideal path. Let's be real, how often does things go that perfectly? Not that often. So now we need to talk about the dark side of this model, all the ways signals can, and do, collapse. And this brings us to this really interesting concept of anti-signals. Okay, so these are communications that look and feel real. They might show up in a formal email or a presentation, but they don't build coherence. In fact, they do the opposite. They actively make things worse, creating confusion, overload, and fragmentation. So here are some of the usual suspects. You got the ghost loop. That's the old idea that's basically a zombie. It just won't die. Then there's phase drift, a great idea just delivered at the absolute worst possible moment. Signal saturation, we all know this one. It's just too much information. And finally, the false bloom. Tons of excitement up front that just fizzles out because there was no real structure underneath. Oh, man, this is such a perfect and painful example of a ghost loop. We've all lived this, right? That outdated wiki page or that process doc that everyone knows is wrong, but it's the official source. So it just keeps circulating, creating confusion and wasting everyone's time. It's a signal that should have been retiring years ago, but it's still hunting the system. So let's just break this down for a second. What's so interesting here is that these aren't just random mistakes. Each type of breakdown points to a specific root cause, a signal that's lost its context, or signals that are just out of sync. And the result is always the same, a total loss of coherence. So what does all this mean for us? Well, it means we need to stop thinking of ourselves as just communicators or messengers. We need to start seeing ourselves as architects of alignment. And this right here, this might be the most powerful takeaway from this entire framework. When your communication fails, when an anti-signal appears, don't just see it as mistake. See it as data. A ghost loop isn't just an annoyance. It's a diagnostic tool. It's showing you what was never properly resolved. Signal saturation is a cry for help, revealing that your team doesn't have a good filter. These failures are signposts, and they show you the exact weaknesses in your system. So I'll leave you with this question. What ghost loops are you still running in your work? What outdated processes or unresolved ideas are still haunting your system? Because just identifying them, that's the very first step toward becoming a true architect of coherence.